All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. We'd love you to support this show. Please like, follow, and subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Your likes and subscription helps us to grow and attract interviews and content. So please retweet and share our posts. Your contributions are appreciated. At least you only have to sit through like 30 seconds of me waffling to intro the show. We're not trying to sell you anything. We don't have Patreon. We don't have T-shirts. Well, we do have T-shirts, but I can't remember what the link is to them anymore. So, hey, welcome to the show. We are the KissFAQ podcast. We are here to take our mind off the world and work and talk about Kiss, or argue about Kiss, or argue about stuff that people are arguing about on the KissFAQ message board. I want to thank Ronnie Parker, Titania Bell, Austin Newland, Distortion Den, Opal Archive, Bill Phelps. Thank you for joining us live, and to anyone who's tuning in now or later, we do appreciate you listening to the show. Today, it's just the voice of reason, Ken. Hello. Myself and Marcus Almighty. Let's get to some of the news this week. Yeah, news. There is news. Been a pretty boring week overall in the U.S. So happy birthday, Tommy Thayer. It's the what is it? What do I used to call him? I can't even remember now. Some people called him Fake Ace, but I never used nasty names for Tommy because he's a really cool guy, very nice guy, and also, powered the band through 20 odd years of extra shows of which we're able to celebrate with the band and enjoy a lot of the music live. So happy birthday, Tommy Thayer. Other news. Let me just look at my notes here. Yeah, this one was actually pretty cool. Some old merch has been restocked in the Kiss Online store as I think it's online exclusive. So let's just show you some of these. They've got the Destroyer Resurrected LP in orange. That's $29.99. That's a pretty good price, to be perfectly honest. The Tangerine and Aqua Love Gun, I think that was a Walmart special point. Some store, so that's very cool. And then I actually turned down one of the Shout It Out Loud singles. We were giving them away in an event, and I think there were like 10 of them. I was offered one. I'm like, no, to give it out. But those were very cool. That is the Danish cover, and I think it's got the UK vinyl repro. And that would be a very cool bit of merch. Years ago now, I don't remember what year it was, so maybe someone can fact check me live. They did the Casablanca singles box set. I would absolutely love, and I don't know if I'd buy it, but I would love to see a repro turning the Japanese overlay covers into proper, sleeves for a reissue series of those, and then a reissue series of the primary catalog singles on international singles with picture sleeves, because there were some very cool ones from Brazil. There were some pretty ugly ones in the UK, but that are very collectible. And desirable. The What Makes the World Go Round single comes to mind immediately. There's stuff like All Hell's Breaking Loose, Thrills in the Night, All Night from Holland. So they could do a really cool series of those with some of the single edits that turned up on the B-sides of those. So a couple of vinyl ideas for down the road. Who knows? But if you missed out on those originally, head on over to the Kiss Online store. I don't often pimp them. I can't guarantee you'll get them without ding corners, but they are available. And you know what? $16. That's a pretty good price for exclusive.
I got one of those.
Yeah,
you did. Back when they originally came out, I did end up buying one of those, and I was pretty happy with it, to be quite honest. It turned out pretty good. It sounded pretty good. I mean, it's a 45. I mean, you can't expect, some ultra perfect sonics or anything like that, but it definitely sounds good. I mean, me being the person who's not exactly big on, that era or that particular album, I decided to grab it mainly because it looked like a cool collector item, So
it's the single mix of
Bill, it's not a magnet, but it is attractive to me. So there we go. It came with a magnet love gun. No, that was the love gun.
The love gun CD deluxe
expanded edition.
Deluxe.
Yeah, that came.
It's 2021 when it got reissued. 2021.
Okay.
For that vinyl.
The Shouted Out Loud 7-inch 45 RPM orange vinyl.
That was for the 45th anniversary.
Yeah, 2021 was the date on that.
So there we go. That's the sort of thing that should have been in the Casablanca or the Destroyer Super Deluxe Edition. Some other single like that, because it was a very nice touch. They've done it with Kiss Killers, the Germans, with the beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, one of the best looking reissue packages that have been done. Came with, like, it was Down on Your Knees single, which, again, there's so much cool stuff that does happen. And I think Ken and I went in on that. We both got it.
Yeah.
Arrived undamaged, and I got rid of mine because it had a ding.
You helped me.
There we go. That one. So that's very cool. Another bit of musical news is that Buffalo Rock City is back, and I've got to check my notes on this. They've got basically it's a box set coming out, and John Jeffrey has been a friend for a very, very long time. I mean, we're talking decades that I've known John, and I've listened to some of the tracks that are on the 4 CD, because that 4 CD is what makes this collection so worthwhile. If anyone's heard these tribute projects before, the quality of recording, the guests that they bring into these projects, and also that most of them have had a charitable, purpose, have been absolutely killer. So let me just read you some of this. It's up on Bandcamp, and I'll see if I can cut and paste while hosting. But not the originals, is the Buffalo Rock City box set. This 4 CD collection is a limited edition set, only 100 copies worldwide, plus digital. The 4 album collection features the first 2 studio albums, Buffalo Rock City and Buffalo Rock City 2. We had John on, I think, for both of those, along with David Julian, to talk about the projects, and they were just absolutely stunning. The live recording, Buffalo Rock City Alive, Music is Art and More, plus a 4th bonus title, Solo Obsession, features 12 previously unreleased covers in the Buffalo Rock City body of work. There are 53 songs in total. So that's over on Bandcamp, and it was announced today. I've been listening to some of these. I Can't Stop the Rain from Peter Criss's solo albums. Absolutely outstanding. Man of a Thousand Faces. Absolutely incredible. What else did I listen to? Mr. Make Believe. It was really, really good. Insane, featuring Todd Howarth. Very, very cool. So go and check it out. If you don't have all of the previous releases, I think it's very much worthwhile. And again, the amount of dedication and detail that's put into these recordings is just absolutely amazing. Mixed, I think, or mastered by Jay Messina. Again, check the credits. I'll put that link in the live chat now for people who are with us live. So check it out. Very, very cool stuff, in my opinion. Mark, you have also got some news, don't you? What's going on for you?
Yeah, so as you guys probably know from me talking about the last couple of weeks, I have a new record out called Canada Tales and Stories. Let me see if I'm not sure if I actually have it here. Well, I have a picture of the original album cover that had the not yet decided upon album title yet. So I'll show you just the cover, but the title was changed. Originally I had it Stories and Tales, but I changed it. I don't know if you can see that. Jesus,
it's like me trying to show shit. Never works.
It's kind
of very cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those, it's kind of those.
Is it a gatefold or no?
It's not a gatefold, but the artwork goes all the way around from the front.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I saw the artwork and I thought, it reminded me of a Yes type.
It's very. I call him my Roger Dean, because he does those kind of covers, and he's actually been hired to do a few tribute records, like a Rick Wakeman one. He's done the artwork for it now, because through my records, I was actually very honored that he got picked for it. So, but yeah, the CD's out. You can get it on Bandcamp, just under Project Gemini. And the CDs are going pretty good. So if you haven't got a copy and you're interested, go check it out and grab a copy, because I'm only making limited amounts of the CDs, because while the CDs still do good for me, the vinyl is the big thing for me, and that's going to be coming soon.
Very cool. I'm curious about the title. It's just Canada, right?
No, it's just Canada. It's Canada, then like hyphen stories and legends.
Oh, I wish it had been "Oh Canada," eh?
That would have been a little too Canadian there.
Yeah. Josh Hafner, done with chemo, made it to 40 on Tuesday. Happy birthday and congratulations. That's fantastic news on both accounts. So keep on keeping on, as we say in England. All right, we're going to the bored topics this week because we're not bored. I didn't have any time to think of a funny title, and the titles for these episodes really can only be determined after we've talked about stuff. So Wolf of Nature joining us, thank you very much. Let's start with this topic from the board. When did you meet a member of KISS and how did it go? Yeah. Ken, we will defer to you.
When? Does it matter when or which time period, or the first or last?
I guess you might have some cringy ones like I do. I don't know. Go with whichever one immediately jumped to mind.
I have no cringy ones, but
haven't lived.
No cringy ones, but the first time was at the Alive 3 meet and greet kind of thing they had when that came out, and it was really quick. I mean, they were just kind of pushing you through. You couldn't really talk to them at all, but I got signatures of all at the time, Gene, Paul, Bruce, and Eric Singer. I think I talked the longest to Eric Singer, which was nice, and he's always been, every time I've met him, it's been a good experience. So, Gene and Paul, not Paul, but Gene, he was more interested in the girls, of course. I remember that time. And that's where we talked to him the most, and kind of get the guys out of here, out of the way. But so yeah, I mean, it was a good experience. Even though it was really fast, it was cool. But later on, a good experience with Gene on the vault experience and all that. But the first one was really that one, and Eric Singer. Bruce was cool too, but Eric Singer I talked the longest to.
Yeah. I think my first was obviously Bruce Kulick. I've talked about the story at the Indie Expo, him being my first interview and all that. I can't remember if I met Eric Singer at that same expo or whether it was the following year that it was Eric, Krabby, and a few others. And I've told the story about finding out the end of the story of what happened when I didn't go out that night, 20 years later at another expo. And both went fine. I mean, Bruce back then, I don't think he's that much different than he is now. He defends the honor of KISS and his era. Yeah. He's particular about details, but he's engaging and humorous. He's fun but serious. When you're interviewing him with purpose, he focuses on it, but he also, focuses on making sure that you've got the right impression that you framed your question with. So I always respected him for that after that first interaction. So it was a important learning curve delivered by a good teacher. G-Chup, welcome. Who else? I'm DBQRX3, welcome. Ronnie Parker. I think I already said that, but whatever. Scott Hawk. There we go. Mark, have you ever met any? I don't think we've ever talked about it. I'm not sure, but have you ever met any of the members of the group?
Yeah, I mean, I've met, and this is, of course, because of the NAMM convention. I met Bruce Kulick was one of the ones I've met multiple times. And actually, it's funny, I talked with him the most out of all the guys. We were actually at the ESP booth at the time, and we were just talking about stuff, and we were yapping. And it was his girlfriend at the time. I'm not sure he was married at the time yet. But anyways, it was the lady that he's with. She said, "Why don't I just take a picture, guys?" So she took my phone and took a picture of us together, and I put it up on my Facebook a few times, that picture. But yeah, I talked to him. He's a really nice guy. We talked about guitars and stuff like that. The one thing I've learned my lesson with at these kind of conventions, whenever I go to it, is that because it's not an open to the public thing, they don't. If somebody comes there that talks to them, they're expecting not to have to talk to people that are like, "I love your record," like none of these gushing things, right? Mm-hmm. So if you go and talk about anything else besides that. Like, I talked about guitars and amps and stuff like that with them, and they were very cool with it, and then you meet some of the people as well. Some of them have photo opportunities, and they do some signings. But the great thing about the signings, like for example, I don't know if you can see this one, but I met Scott Ian of Anthrax. I was there with him. Geez, this camera is great. Anyways, I'm there with him, and you don't have to pay for any of these things. At these things, you just go there, you line up, they just sign a thing to you, and to talk to them, and that's it. But I met Bruce is the main guy that I saw there. I saw Eric Singer there a couple of times at the Pearl booth, but I wasn't really much of a they had a lot of drummers, and I'm not going to go in there and talk to him because it's not that I don't like him, just there were a lot of drummers that were into talking with him, so I wasn't going to get into line for that. But I seen Gene there before, didn't talk to him. Just like Ken said, there would be no point in talking with him. You'd be more interested in talking with girls anyways, right? But I've met a lot of great other musicians besides Kiss, to be honest with you. I mean, Nico McBrain, Rob Halford, Alice Cooper, and those guys I had longer talks with. Like, I mean, I was actually hanging with Nico McBrain for almost near an hour with him. He was very cool. So I said to him, I go, hey, nice meeting. And he goes, oh, you don't have to go. He was like, you don't have to leave. Because I thought that I might have been cramping him a bit, but he was, no, you can stay. We were talking about cymbals and stuff like that, and he was trying out these different cymbals. He said, what do you think of this one? Think it sounds too ringy? I go, no, it sounds okay. So we were just yapping about stuff like that. And Alice Cooper, if you meet him, talk golf. You'll get him talking for hours, and then and then you're in his good books. So, but Bruce was the main guy. Like I said, he's always been my favorite member of Kiss. So that's why I ended up spending the most time when I saw him there at the conventions with him. Hey David, how you doing?
Hey David. All right. Well, again, I think I've met all the living members of the group, and they've all been cool. And I think that the most awkward one was when I gave Paul Stanley a paragraph to write on a guitar. And boy, did he have to focus on making that all look pretty. And he looked like he was getting writer's cramp by the end of that. It's like, sign the damn guitar, Paul, but you got to write all this first. And it was from the Elder, too. Boy, talk about torturing the poor guy. All right, worst 10. This is another good thread. Who was this by on the FAQ? This was by the Chose One, and it's not including the solo albums. One of the worst 10 songs from the original Kiss studio albums, 74 to 79. And you know what? I didn't do 10. I looked through some of these lists, and when it comes down to it, I only really think there are 2 worst songs from that period. And
2?
Yeah, Kissing Time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just
Mark's gonna say all of Destroyer.
It's just a novelty throwaway, and the other one is Then She Kissed Me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I didn't see any of the other ones. I mean, some of them are not like my favorite songs. They won't fall into any top 10 or top 50 list probably, but they're still have a purpose and a meaning on the albums when I listen to them. But it's only Then She Kissed Me that I really find annoying. Mark, now you did a whole damn list. You did some homework.
Yes, there are reasons for the other songs, and some of them are filler because they needed songs to fill up an album and they used them. So I agree. Kissing Time is one of them on my list. Then She Kissed Me is one of them on my list as well. But come on, Rockin' in the USA is one of the most atrocious songs that they ever wrote in their life. Okay, Rockin' in that thing is terrible. Okay. Strutter 78.
You're just not a patriotic American, Mark.
Strutter 78 is a complete throwaway to that song. Get rid of that. That's garbage. Two Timer, as much as I love, Dress to Kill, that song is not good. Okay. Mainline, we talked about that as well on Hotter Than Hell when we did that episode. Mainline is probably the most vanilla song that they've ever put on a record too. Mainline, like, come on. Terrible. Love Theme from Kiss, not good. Okay. Coming Home, like I said, that's only been good on an acoustic version of MTV Unplugged. Other than that, on the album, it's not good. Do I really need to get into Great Expectations with You? You know how crap that song is. Okay, that's enough said. And I know the last one, and makes 10, and I know Ken is going to be in great protest of this one because it does involve his friend Mr. Gene here, and that is Almost Human. Never loved the whole never liked the congas and all that Santana crap at the beginning that he does there. So not a good song. So
he doesn't do the congas. That's a mighty session player, Jimmy Malin.
But it's on this song, so.
Gosh, it was good.
Yeah, he played on Wicked
I love that song.
Gun. That's pretty cool. All right, Ken, can you please talk some reason into this conversation?
Reasoning, yes. I mean, I can understand Love Thing from Kiss to a degree. Right? It's kind of... They were filling it up.
I'm right.
On that one. Sure, the one from Destroyer... Well, I would say Beth, but I'm not going to say Beth. I think when I first got that album, I hated Beth. I really hated it at the beginning. But I got to like it more over the years. But Great Expectations, yeah, it's kind of... I would have rather had the original version, intended version. I think it would have been better, but whatever. I'm with you, Julian, on the other one, like the covers. Then She Kissed Me, and then the Dave Clark 5.
Any Way You Want It.
I didn't even pick that one.
It's kind of okay.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's all right. It's all right. And that's what it is. It's all right.
It's all right.
And that's about it. The rest of, I enjoy all of the stuff. There's nothing I hate on any of those. So.
There's nothing that I really hate. Spoken as a reasonable man.
Nothing
speaks.
I hate. There's nothing I hate.
Yeah, I mean, the audience jumped in with quite a few of the same ones that kind of showed up on that. I guess that was the first person's, contributions to that list. There's nothing that I really hate in the Kiss catalog other than Read My Body. Nothing can keep me from puking on you. There might be one or two others
later ones.
Later ones, but again, they all are part of the story. So again, we're lucky to have so much music to criticize and to gush over, for that matter.
You know what I hate is your background, your curtain.
Yeah,
I can see these spots come up.
I know it's. I don't have the green screen up, and it must be a fan where someone's walking behind me. Yeah, someone's walking. It
reminds me of an old projector film. When you see them when you were in elementary school and they were showing the projection films, and they sometimes had those spots come up on the film.
Spots and dust gets on it.
Yeah, if I didn't use this, you'd see my ego wall. My photos of me with band members and my books and all that crap. So
what's wrong with that?
But it'll block that crap out. Let's move on to the next topic, and this is going from the worst to your favorite. Black Diamond has multiple endings. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the original album had its ending. The live version had the Bolero ending tacked onto it later, and then of course the double platinum version had an edit which put the acoustic intro back out as the back on the end as the outro. Do you have a favorite form to the end of Black Diamond? Because that's a really rather niche question, but you know what? That's the Kiss FAQ. Mark, let's start with the musician.
Well, I mean, I've always been a fan of the one that we got through the whole early period, like from from Hotter Than Hell tour on to Live, and with the whole straight and the drum riser going up and stuff. Of course, you got to understand that ending is great because you have that visual with it, right? If you just have a bootleg version of the album or just the album itself, if you've never seen the video of Cobo Hall in those shows, when that happens, you might find that kind of dull because it's just the same thing over and over again with just some explosions at the end. But I still find that one my favorite. I mean, I didn't mind when they did that whole Bolero at the end, but I don't know. It never connected me. I always think of Jeff Beck when I hear that. Yeah. So I figured the original one is always the one I kind of tend to go back to as my favorite. And the double platinum, I understand what they were trying to do, trying to make different edits and different variations and mixes of stuff like that. But it's not the worst, thing that they've done. I thought the Firehouse edit was kind of odd on double platinum, how it goes from the bell and then it comes back to the intro again. It's like, why do that one? But double platinum, that has some interesting ones, but I like the original. The original is my favorite.
Yeah, double platinum sounds good. The song versus what they did to the Sonics. Sonics, made it a little bit more punchy than it sounds on the first album. I always liked the acoustic. I wonder if that means that I had double platinum before I had the debut. Probably because it had more songs on it, and it was a good sampler to 15-year-old budget. So that's kind of neat. But I think the live version, Kiss is a live band, or was a live band in the 70s. I remember when Andrew and I were doing the Inner Sanctum and watching the 76 Kobo shows. Oh my God, just actually fixating on them and not trying to do anything with the the videos and just focusing on the videos for once, which is something I find so difficult to do. Just to watch the performances, just the power just came across. So yeah, I'm kind of sitting on the fence. I'm going to be a Ken and say it's a tie between the Bolero and the double platinum. All right, Ken. I guess there's no tie for you today.
No tie. I like the Bolero version. I thought it was so cool when I first heard that, when they did that back in Creatures era and was it Animalize and so on after that, I think a few years. So I think that was the best. The thing is, I would love for them though to always have that early, or these like the 70s intro, not the double platinum, but the intro, the live intro where Paul does the riffing of that. That should be the beginning of the song, and then he goes into the the mellow part, a little beginning, the true beginning of the song. But before that, the riffing, go heavy, the heavy riffing of the kind of the Black Diamond song, and then it goes into the mellower, kind of leading,
like an 8-minute version,
and then it kicks in again. Yeah. Oh yeah, 8-minute version. Yeah. Why not? I think that would have been cool, because I like it that way. Always like the live version that way.
I didn't ask if anyone bought anything this week, and Ken, you are actually you're modeling. You got something in the mail though. You got the new one of the.
This
new
is one of the Hotter Than Hell ones. Shirts, that came part of the Hotter Than Hell.
I'm
not sure. Gene looks good on that. Ace looks good on that, but Paul, I'm not too sure about Paul there.
Okay. Yeah, Gene's good in there. It's Peter, but it's not bad. It's okay. The vinyls, the vinyl shipped. Two vinyl albums shipped. So wait a couple of weeks.
No, I can't decide. Really, it is that easy. All right, let's move on to another topic. So Gene on the VRP Rocks podcast, he and I'm quoting now from the Post, they should have been here, Gene on Ace and Peter. He still took a little bit of a jab at them, but even now saying that Peter and Ace should have been in the band to the end. No, because you've said over and over again that you wouldn't have been able to last as long, but yeah, they should have been there at the end, but you didn't invite them. So again, even Bruce has said it. I think he didn't get an invite for anything to turn down at the end, so that there was none of that. I think just get over. I think just get over it at this point. We've talked about this many times, and the more I think about it, the more I kind of settle on it wasn't a good ending. But setting up the avatars was brilliant marketing and very Kiss move, and having Ace and Peter at the end would have completely, they wouldn't have been able to do that. So, Ken, Gene's comment about.
I know his sentiment. He would have rather them made it the whole way through. He said in that interview about he wished he was harder on them.
harder on them. Okay.
Harder than regarding trying to get them cleaned up back in the 70s when they were over indulging in the the booze and the other stuff, cocaine or whatever. So yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunately, it would have been nice if they could have stayed the whole time. I guess Peter, yeah, when he left or he was gone, he signed over his makeup. I was wondering about that. The Ace makeup, how he always says he still owns it. But I was wondering if something in his contract says he still even though he doesn't own the rights to the makeup, that he had something in the contract where they still, anything they sell with that makeup on his makeup, that he still gets something, gets some kind of
kick in the ass.
Check. Yeah, kick. Get some kind of kickback on that or whatever.
I wouldn't trust anything coming out of Ace's mouth, to be honest with you. I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think the 96 or the 96 reunion contract did specify that there was an agreement, and I think in the separation agreement, I've certainly got some contracts that do kind of suggest that the settlement was that he would retain certain rights and control over usage of it, which of course is why they didn't have the big fight with him over it, Kiss My Ass. But again, we don't know. But no. So you're saying no, they shouldn't have been there at the end? Yes, they should have, or Gene should just stop worrying about it as it's over.
Stop worrying about it. It's it's history at this point. Though they should have had at the last concert, they should have had it instead of the Avatar stuff.
Yeah, well,
but whatever. But the boss wouldn't allow that, I think.
I'm curious. I'm curious about one thing. This interview, because I never really caught it. What was he there to promote?
Himself.
So this is what I don't understand about Gene. Why even bring this up? Again, like why? Like
spawned from a question.
Kiss is done. Kiss is finished in that sense. Of why even bother bringing up live shows and stuff like that, or why they weren't there? And I should have been harder on. What do you mean? You should have been harder on him? Like, you've been reaming these guys out for the last 20, 30 years in magazine, print, online, and stuff like that. And come on. The last thing I'd want if I was in a band, to have your band member constantly breaking your balls about something. You should stop drinking. You should stop this. And they were young at that time. They were probably, if you're going to go and party and do those things, do it when you're young, because when you get older, it's not that easy on the body after a while to do that. Just ask, Mr. Entwistle there, what happened when he went back to doing cocaine. It didn't last very long. So, but you got to realize that this is done. I almost get the feeling that whenever Gene goes on here now, it's just he just likes to hear himself talk. I just get the feeling at this point. I mean, it's like he's going through withdrawal. Like why go on these interviews to promote himself? What does that mean? Promote myself? Like, people are interested in Kiss. They're not really interested in you. I don't think, in the grand scheme of things. You don't have a television show. You don't have, I don't know. To me, it just seems kind of puzzling. I mean, let's put it this way. And I know people are going to start booing me when I say this, but I never see Getty or Alex or these guys come on, do pointless interviews for absolutely nothing. Hi, I'm here just to talk about myself. If they come on there, it's because whether there's a new pedal that has Alex Lifeson's name on it, or Getty Lee's putting out a book now about his baseball collection. So of course he's going to do interviews about that. Going out there to just talk about yourself, I mean, that just seems completely pointless. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You were a rock and roll band in the 70s, not a management retreat. In South Korea or any one of those kind of countries that has a working man kind of mentality, that you owe your servitude and whole essence of soul and being to the corporation. The band was never going to last because of the pressures that were put on them, and they all fell. by the wayside
yeah,
to various sins. I mean, he projects what their behavior was in 45 years ago, and hadn't been the case for Peter from the early 80s is when he got all cleaned up. And imagine getting cleaned up for 45 years or 40 years and caring about your sins from your youth, from your partner who kind of drove you to, was part of the reason that you needed to escape chemically. I mean, it's a very depressing thing. Or for Ace, who finally, after many battles with various addictions, got clean and is now putting out albums. No matter what anyone says about kind of the quality of maybe some recent issues, be it Spaceman, which I know some people do like, but was certainly a step down from Space Invader and Anomaly in terms of kind of dedication to the approach rather than just delivering something or relying on another party to, really help deliver 10,000 Volts. The guy's putting out music and he's playing shows, and to continuously hear your sins, it's like you've never been respected for getting over that, when Gene and Paul both know how bad it was because they were there, but they were parties to it. So I think they were equally blinded by it. So it's like, at this point, get over it. Yeah, tell that to Keith Richards. Yeah. Nothing like falling out of trees. All right, let's move on, because that's just a bit of a pisser. This is another pretty negative thread, but I don't see any way for it not to be negative. And it's after Mark St. John, Tommy and Eric Singer are named the least important members of KISS. And this comes from just one of those kind of filler Ultimate Classic Rock.com. No offense, guys, but it's an article to get clicks. It's just an article doing a list. We do lists all the time. If we did a list of our favorite members of KISS and ranked all of them, then someone would be in the last spot just by the nature of doing a list, other than by Ken, in which case the last 5 places would be a tie. Right. But in that case, they're all last. Correct. They're all equally last. So, I think Mark St. John is such a blip on the radar of KISS and its history that, he's always kind of going to end up last. And then you have to kind of weigh it on where the band was. The originals are usually going to be at the top because they are the whole reason why we are here and we continue to be here. Eric Carr obviously comes in as the first replacement, and a beloved replacement by many, not all, because some people don't care for the style of drumming that he brought into the group. But he was a hired hand, and he died young, very young. So it always skews. I think they try and set it up as clickbait, like Tommy and Eric, who, Eric comes in 92 and then is out in 96. Or 95. Was it? It was 9. No, it was 96. August 96. That he and Bruce resigned, and then comes back and is gone, and then comes back and stays and sticks it out for the duration. So he's probably going to end up higher. I didn't look at the rankings, by the way. He's probably going to end up higher than Tommy, but Tommy still played on as many albums as Vinny. But they're not the same period as Vinny. They're at the other end of the career, and he's also wearing someone else's makeup. So, I don't think
this is all irrelevant. I think.
Mark, all right, why?
Sorry, go ahead. No, I did. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I'm done. You were giving me the perfect segue to shut up.
Okay, no, I was going to say that I think this is technically irrelevant. Why? Because all of them had an important part in it somehow. Because without them, there would be no operational KISS. If you didn't bring in Vinnie Vincent at the time, they wouldn't have got the records that we got. We wouldn't have gotten Creature. We wouldn't have especially would not have gotten Lick It Up, that album, without him, because he's the principal writer on that record. So, would there have been a KISS record? Maybe they would have picked somebody else, but, would they have been as good a writer? Would they have clicked as much? Who knows? Eric Carr, I think it was extremely important. I mean, the guy came in and replaced the original drummer. and they went on and did lots of great stuff with the guy. I mean, I don't understand this logic in this. Like, even to say that Eric Singer is not an important member of the band. What are you talking about? Peter Criss leaves. They have another tour to do. So he came in and stepped in and helped them out, and he's been there with them till the very end. I mean, just think about it. The last 15 years of shows that you've seen, he's been drumming. Right?
You're mixing up your Erics if you're going from Peter Criss to Eric Singer.
No, I'm just saying that Eric Singer, the last couple of years now, has been playing in the band, right? He's been drumming there. If he wasn't there, then what the important thing is so stupid. I don't understand the importance of they needed him. They would, they wanted to continue playing, so they needed a drummer, and they didn't want to go through the whole thing of getting, going through 90 drummers again and trying to find some unknown guy or whatever. They went with the guy that they were with before, And even Mark St. John, believe it or not, they wanted a shredder, so they got exactly what they wanted in Mark St. John. It wasn't his fault that he got, arthritis. I mean, that stuff isn't, somebody doesn't wake up in the morning and say, I'd like to get arthritis this morning and have my handle fucked up, so it just happens, right? Unfortunately. So I don't know. The ranking of this is, obviously Gene and Paul are the main people in the list. Followed by Ace and Peter, of course, they'd put in there. And then from there, it's just people's opinions, I guess. To me, they're all important.
Yeah, it's a bit clickbaity just to say that they're the least important. That's bullshit. Like Mark said, every member of the group has been important at the time that they've been in the group.
Yeah,
sometime in the group. Ken.
Yeah, to me, I have two ties. For two positions. Now, this is how I'm seeing this.
Thank you, Ronnie.
It's kind of ridiculous, like what Mark says. I rank the original band of 4. Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter. They're tied for number 1 as the most important, because it all goes back to that. That's just the classic Kiss era. And that music that they created back then. So they're all tied for number 1 as far as I'm concerned. And then the rest, everybody else, I'm just gonna put as well. Maybe I'll do a 3. I'll put almost everybody. And Mark St. John's gonna have to be number 3 because he was just a blip, right?
Well, you're hating on Mark St. John.
I don't know.
Why are you such a hater?
Why, Lonnie?
What?
But or just go to the rest of them. They all did have their great parts in the rest of history, right? Playing on albums, recording albums, playing live, or whatever they did. Filling in. Psycho Circus. Tommy Thayer was on there a little bit, and Bruce Kulick was on there, right? So Ace was on it for a little bit. So yes, I just 2 different parts. Tie. It's over.
That's very reasonable. I like that though. That's a nice solution. Yeah, everyone's a winner.
Pretty much. Here's your trophy. Here's your trophy for losing.
Yeah. All right. A couple more topics, and I got to go back to work. But Janop17 came up with, what is the level of interest in Kiss today? It's interesting to see what happens with the interest and status of Kiss, and specifically how fast it will fade. We've now had almost a year without Kiss. There's still interviews out there with the members. Gene has been out with his band. Ace plays quite regularly. Peter pops up occasionally, but no major interviews are similar. Eric Singer is mostly under the radar. Though if you're on Facebook and you on 3 sides, they did have a picture of Loretta Caravello meeting Eric Singer for the first time at a wedding. I think it was this past weekend or a couple weekends ago. So he isn't completely under the radar. Pop House is doing their thing, but it's mostly silence from that camp. How fast will interest in Kiss fade, Mark?
Well, I mean, from my end of it, I'll just say this. I mean, when they were active, and there was always that chance that they're going to go out on tour, there was that underlying feeling of like, what's going to happen next? Are there going to be some new costumes? Are they going to do a new stage set? There was always something to kind of look forward to. now that it's kind of come to a complete halt that way and they've officially retired, you know, I find that there's a completely different vibe in it. I mean, people that I know that have been involved in this or who have loved the band and that I've, who are good friends of mine. I mentioned that guy, excuse me, that guy who has that whole house decorated and Kiss stuff, framed posters in his living room and stuff like that. I mean, even he said, when I saw him last night, he said it's an end of an era, like he's kind of like, the vibe is totally different. I mean, sure, we have every once in a while, we have these releases that come out, like a colored vinyl here and a colored vinyl there. But I mean, in comparison to it, it's just not the same. I mean, but back in the day, we were always expecting something to come out, whether it was a new DVD or something, some live show, some new tour announcement. There always seemed to be something going on. I mean, even at their lowest point back in the day, Gene did his his show. Gene Simmons' Family Jewels kind of filled in that gap for a while and kept people interested. And before we knew it, Kiss was back on the road playing again. So now it just seems, for me personally, I'll always love the band and I'll always get stuff whenever I see it. I mean, I haven't been as hardcore collecting vinyl anymore about it because personally I feel I have a lot of the great pressings of the records that I want in my collection. So why bother getting some of these reissues that they're doing? It's just the same pressing of it from like 2014 with just a different color. So how many versions of that do I need? So I'm just kind of streamlining what I'm getting now as far as Kiss stuff, but I'll still be interested in it. I still watch the videos a lot, and watch, those bootleg concerts are some of my favorite things to still watch. My interest in it is obviously not as high as it was at its peak, but I still have interest in it. The general public, I think it's going to disappear with them. It's going to be up to us, the diehards, to keep them on the radar, because let's face it, Kiss is not like Elvis Presley or like the Beatles or something like that. They're popular, but I don't know if they're in that category of being that they can survive without some sort of keeping themselves in the people's focus.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I my response in that was my interest is still super high, but I'm working on projects. I got a lot going on. Obviously, War Machine is cranking along. I've had a very productive week on that. Library time. Some stuff come through the mail, and starting talking to an artist for potential cover design. So that keeps me going. The Ace book keeps me going, and hopefully we'll start making some deeper progress on bringing that to conclusion soon. And there's a bunch of other things. I mean, there have been some bootlegs that have dropped recently. The Denver Lick It Up soundboard came out, and that was fun to pick apart and figure out what have been patched together. One's just been posted on the FAQ today. I mean, I've got the recordings. I've had them for a while, so I don't know if it's been hoarded or what, because I just put these things away. But Baton Rouge 77, and it's incomplete, so it's filled in with the encores from Atlanta 77 a few days later. So that's being pressed up on vinyl. That might be new to someone or to collectors. So there's always stuff kind of happening in the niche in which I exist to keep me entertained. I'm not on Twitter anymore, so I miss out on Paul Stanley's things unless someone posts them elsewhere, but and I was blocked by Gene years ago, so I don't know what he's doing on there anyway. So being out of that ecosystem means that I'm only seeing what I see on the Facebook algorithm, what it deems to serve me, which is always a kind of interesting experimentation in social engineering. So my interest, I'm still there, but the wider public, well, Gene was just on, what was it, Dancing with the Stars, and managed to, or whatever it was. I could have,
that's right,
the wrong show.
It was Dancing with the Stars.
So he's still getting out there and being Gene and being seen. So that's useful. Who knows with any of the other guys? Again, Ace is out there, but I think he's under the radar. When will the wider interest fade? I think inevitably it will. I don't know if Kiss will be like a Beatles, with that level of interest and deep boxes coming 60 years after they've been gone. But I like what Ronnie Parker said. Another 27 years and I'll be 80 and I'm still a diehard Kiss fan. And I think, yeah, I don't care if they fade to the wider public. They've been such an important part of my life that they're going to remain so for the remainder. So do they fade? Well, that's really nice. I'll go play Love Gun. Ken?
Yeah, to me, the general public out there is just kind of like, if Kiss is not touring, then it's just they don't bother with it, or probably don't really hear it. There might have been some interest stirred up with "I Was Made for Loving You" coming back and being, kind of popular because of that movie, the Fall Guy movie, that had a cover version in it, and people then searched out Kiss, and then that thing, "I Was Made for Loving You," I think on, streaming just skyrocketed, and having even more plays and that sort of stuff. And maybe that, maybe some of those people say, well, I'm going to check out Kiss, and maybe they grew some fans out of it. Possibly, maybe not, but I'm sure there was some. But as for me, yeah, I'm doing the podcast, and I'm doing, I'll still listen to Kiss music, of course, and watch videos and all that kind of stuff. So that's right. For the diehards, they're going to still, listen to the music and watch videos and listen to Kiss podcasts and that sort of thing, and buy some merch and that stuff. Otherwise, there's not much until, I think, and maybe the interest will come back if they ever put out that biopic or series or whatever. And there is that other documentary too about the end of the road tour. So that may stir up interest first, and then maybe the biopic will come out maybe 2026, I'm guessing, and then you get the avatars in 2027 maybe. I don't know. I think there'll be some things coming that will pique interest a little bit. That will kind of bring them back into the, not news, but, I don't know what you want to call it. Entertainment kind of stories and that sort of stuff. They'll be out there again. But I don't know how much. Really don't know.
Yeah, I think the End of the Road documentary and the, biopic might, kick the ant hill. But they'll need to do something to kick the wasp nest for the avatars to set it up. They'll need to do something to get back into the broader public consciousness when it comes time to launch something like that. ABBA had a whole bunch of things, so they know how to set it up. Don't get me wrong.
They released an album.
God, remember, right? we did a Look at Rock and Roll podcast episode on it and got taken to task by ABBA fans for our opinions.
How dare you talked about?
All
their songs are perfect.
Suddenly we're on the Kiss nerd receiving side of the equation for a change. All right, I got to get back to work, so we're going to leave the episode there this week. The last question would have been, what do you think is the Kiss holy grail of collectibles right now? You can ponder that for next week, and we can always wrap that one up on what it would be for you and what you think it is. That unobtainable, but your holy grail. If you had one desire granted to you in relation to Kiss collectibles, what would be that item that would make you Japanese smile for the rest of your life? All right. I want to thank everyone who's taken the time to tune in to us live. Thank you for all the comments during the show. It makes it a lot of fun. Thank you for listening to us and supporting this podcast. Remember, it's just about being a fan of Kiss and coming together to celebrate that which we love and listen to on a regular basis. But for now, from Mark, Ken, myself, thanks for joining us. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.